everyone, welcome back to Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I'm sharing this card featuring the Not Too Shabby Shop stamps You, Me, and Pumpkin Spice and Fall Gnomes. They are from the new collection that Jamie just recently released. I have a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending. I'm starting with Rusty Hinge, and I will bring in Victorian velvet and finish with aged mahogany. Those three colors create a beautiful fall background. Those blender brushes actually popped up in my Amazon suggestion box, and they were very reasonably priced, similar, I would imagine, to some of the other craft brushes that are on the market. I love the way that they're blending. Look at the smooth blend that I get right here between the Rusty Hinge and the Victorian velvet. Then I will bring in the aged mahogany with a different Amazon brush, one of those regular makeup brushes, and you'll see how much splotchier it is. I have to work a little bit harder at the blend. The blend was super easy using those big round brushes, and I'm working a little bit harder here. So because the transition is not as smooth, I'm going to add some more layers to this. So another layer of the Rusty Hinge. I'll blend back in that aged mahogany. Or not aged mahogany, but the Victorian velvet, and you'll see just how beautiful it continues to blend. But that aged mahogany, I'm not getting that smooth transition. I'm going to work at it a little bit with that same brush. I cleaned it off, and I will come in. I'll do a little bit of a swiping motion back and forth just to try to fill in some of those white spots that I wasn't able to get with the other blender brush. I would highly recommend these brushes. I need to get more, the round ones. I definitely need to get more of them, because if I use more than one in a red tone or orange tone, I only have one brush for each tone. So I think that I will pick up a few more and slowly build a collection of these. I think that they're absolutely fantastic. I will link them in the description box below. I'm using some of the images from the You, Me, and Pumpkin Spice, and I'm going to create a background. I'll start with the Rusty Hinge, and I'm going to stamp the Sentiment You Had Me at Pumpkin Spice. This is the largest stamp that I'm going to use in the background. When you are creating a background, you want to make sure that you start with your largest stamp, that you make sure that you stamp some of the images off the page, and that you turn your stamp. This beautiful little flower, I need to use a little bit more. I bet you that I'm going to pull it into some Christmas cards. I think it's absolutely stunning. And I stamped that with the aged mahogany. I didn't mention that these are the Distress Oxide inks. They are not the regular Distress inks. I really want to try the brushes with the Distress inks as well. I know that you can get a good blend on Bristol Smooth, but I want to see how well they would blend a Distress ink on the Nina. So that will be coming in a video shortly. I'm taking some of these leaves. I will bring in a couple more, and I'm just alternating the colors. So the same colors that I used for the ink blending are the same colors that I am using to stamp with. I'm just alternating them. You see I got a little bit of overlap on that left side. I'm using a dirty block. That stamp block, I only have one stamp. Actually, I have three. One is a super long one that is for sentiments. One is a very tiny one that's for tiny images. Neither one of those are with me right now. But this third one is the medium-sized block that I have, a square block, and I use it a lot. There's Arteza white gouache on one side, and then there is Lawn Fawn, the starry, I can't remember the name of it. It will be listed in the description box below. Anyway, the Stardust flicking, or the Stardust ink. I don't know what you call it. I can't come up with that word right now. anyway that I tend to splatter onto my panels, and I decided not to clean it up because I was going to use it. And here I am using the Lawn Fawn Starry, whatever it's called. I'm so sorry. And the Arteza gouache. And that will add a little bit of sparkle and shine to Stardust, I think it's called. I'll I'll add it to my background. I think it adds a lot of interest. It really makes it super pretty when you rotate that paper in your hands, you can see a lot of sparkle. Here's the star of the show. I am using my Dove blender pen with those same Distress Oxide inks, and I am going to color my images. I use a flicking motion when I use that blender pen, and look at the beautiful color that I'm able to get. You could see on the very first pumpkin that I still had a little bit of brown on my Dove blender tip. That nib is an older nib. It's pretty frayed at the bottom. And so I really need to change that out. I just couldn't find my other nibs. So in between colors, I have a piece of paper on the right, and I will wipe off that nib and that before I go into the next color. The three colors that I'm using are Rusty Hinge, Dried Marigold, and Carved Pumpkin. I do try to leave some white space. This, let me tell you, if you are not a colorist, this is the easiest way to get a beautiful blend because Distress inks blend so beautifully and effortlessly, and it takes zero effort. So I am basically flicking, leaving some white space, doing a little bit of blending. I am not trying to color the image. I'm just laying down some color. So I colored the 4 pumpkins. I will start with the aged mahogany or the Victorian velvet on this leaf, and then I will bring in the dried marigold. The larger maple leaf, I'm going to use the aged mahogany, and I will blend that with the Victorian velvet. And I think I get a nice combination of all the colors, a little bit of orange, a little bit of pink. I will take all of these images over to my brother's Scan and Cut, and I will cut them out. I did not color the girl on screen. The reason is I thought that this was enough of a tutorial on the coloring that you didn't need to see the girl colored. I did use similar colors, the Victorian velvet, aged mahogany, dried marigold. All of those colors have been used in some way on the girl, but I did add antique linen and festive berries for her skin and cheeks, and I mixed in a little bit of brown. I think I may have used the frayed burlap because the aged mahogany just wasn't looking right. And the images that you'll see when you do see the girl come in, it looks really dark, but as the day progressed, it dried back and she has a lovely skin tone now. On the acorns, I will use gathered twigs and frayed burlap. Frayed burlap will be also part of the pumpkin stem. Those pumpkins are from Fall Gnomes. That's where that stamp set was brought in. And all of these little images in some way, shape, or form can be cards themselves. And that's what I love about this particular collection. If you follow me, you will notice that out of the 4 stamp sets, I have not used the Critter Costume Party. And the reason that I have not used that stamp set is not because it's not one of the most adorable stamp sets. It's because I wanted to save it for September. So I will probably have about 2 cards in September featuring those critter cuties. All of the products, as I said, will be listed in the description box below. Jamie does have a buy it all sale. So if you buy all 4 of the stamp sets together, you do get a little bit of a discount. If you didn't follow the hop the other day, There is a hop that went on, so there's tons of inspiration using these particular stamps. I have said it before and I'll say it again. I think Jamie just did a fantastic job with this release. This is a Sizzix Framelits die. I did stamp out. That is a Sunny Studios sentiment. I stamped it out using Versamark ink and then I embossed it with Wow Gold embossing powder. This is the Starry water paints from Gonzai Tombi. They're obviously gold and white. I am using that gold, that deep gold, to do a little bit of ink splattering. So I just sprayed some water into that pan, sprayed water onto my brush, and I'm doing a lot of splattering. That brush is a very old brush that I've had, but I love how big it is and I get great splattering with it. Sometimes when I use a smaller brush, you do get smaller splatters, but it takes a lot more work. So I decided that I wasn't getting it in some of the spots that I wanted to. I took the tip of that brush and I just added a little bit more. That card base is Nina Desert Storm. It has been cut to 9 by 5.5, and I scored it, or 8.5 by, my goodness, 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4.25. That is a piece of American Crafts cardstock, gold cardstock that I had in my stash. I did cut that frame down using some Hero Arts Infinity dies. That is 4.25, 4 by 5.25. I will list all of these in the description box below. The craft cardstock that's underneath that is cut to 3.75 by 5. And lastly, the panel that we stamped on is 3.5 by 4.75. I layered those all together using my art glitter glue. I am going to add some foam dimension to that sentiment. As you can see, I did cut another one of those little framelits in gold to bring in a little bit more of that gold tone to my project, and I offset that. I just glued it together using the art glitter glue, and then I took some foam dots and put them on the back. You'll see that here in a minute. I'm putting together my scene, and I'm gluing everything down. As I said, the only thing popped up is the sentiment. I will do the little part of the scene on the right side, do a little bit of layering, and that will be my card. Other than I will bring in a white gel pen and do a little bit of accenting. I want to thank you so much today for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this card. I hope that you're enjoying this fall series. I'm still not quite there. I love making the cards, but I'm not ready for fall yet. But, I just think that they're absolutely beautiful. Let me know, what do you think of this color combination? Out of the 4 stamp sets that you've seen from the Not Too Shabby Shop, which ones are your favorites? I would absolutely love to know. I hope that if you have not subscribed to my channel, that you would subscribe, ring the bell so that you receive notifications when I release a video. And until next time, I want to thank you for watching again, and have a fabulous day. At the end of this, there'll be a couple videos if you want to see more of this particular collection.